A grim milestone, 100,000. Americans from all walks of life, across generations. The New York Times filled its front page with just 1,000 of the grandfathers, grandmothers, husbands and wives, sons and daughters. 100,000 taken so fast by COVID-19, this country is still reeling in shock. Cody Lister of Colorado was a healthy 21-year-old kid.
Cody he had the best smile in the world, and he would reach out and use that.
Korean War vet James Mandeville was 83 years old when COVID took him from his family. Dariana Dyson was just 15.
This hurts people. This hurts people in ways that they'll never be able to come back from.
In just a few short months, this pandemic sweeping the world has infected some 2 million here at home. Hospitals turned into battlefields.
It is absolutely heartbreaking. From the young to the old, they are all very sick.
Our new soldiers, the frontline workers, have fallen in service too. Chicago nurse Chris Guzman was a 35-year-old with 3 young children. Louisiana cop Mark Hall Sr. had 30 years on the force. Philip Dover, 2 decades driving a bus in New Jersey. And as we gingerly open up, perhaps wave from a safe distance, we have not had time to grieve.
Somebody who passes away has, touched many other people's lives, and no one's here besides them but me.
100,000. The obituary names grow daily, with no end in sight. Painful to learn of the hopes and dreams lost. And when we can't say goodbye in person, it hurts.
I give them a moment of silence and respect them because we all have loved ones out there.
We as survivors must remember, no one, no matter who they were, should leave this world alone. Kevin Tibbles, NBC News, Chicago.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo met with the president in Washington today to talk infrastructure and jumpstarting New York's economy.
And there cannot be a national recovery if the state and local governments are not funded. That is a fact.
Meanwhile, today, New York's Long Island enters phase 1 of reopening, the only place still closed in the state, New York City. NBC News correspondent Ron Allen joining me now from Babylon, Long Island. And Ron, first, how did Governor Cuomo's meeting with the president go today?
Well, I think we'll have to wait to see what the president has to say about that, because basically the governor was making some asks of him and Republicans in Congress as well. This is all about money. The governor has been consistently saying that the state is in a big hole as a result of this epidemic that he's been trying to deal with. He wanted the commitment from the president to support bills in the Senate and House that will provide money to the states and to localities. So far, there's been a reluctance, a strong opposition is probably a better way to describe it, to that. And you've heard all the red and blue and the partisan back and forth about it, how some, like the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and others, have called it a blue state bailout. Cuomo was trying to cut through all that, but it's still there. And the president can perhaps help with that, but he didn't make any great commitment to doing that as well. So the other big thing is infrastructure, which the president has talked about that he's interested in doing. But obviously, months before the election, he's only going to want to support that under the right conditions. And it's kind of hard to see how he offers a lot of support to that to help a governor in a blue state, because, again, Washington is so mired in all this partisanship and nothing seems to get done. So the governor said it was a good meeting, and they agreed to talk again next week. But again, we have to see what President Trump has to say about that, and what he says consistently, of course, because he may say one thing and then say something else, and so on and so forth. Allison?
All right, Ron, Long Island reopening today. How are the businesses there prepping? How are folks in Babylon getting ready?
Well, Long Island is a big, big place. It's about 3 million people. It's as big as maybe 20 states. So it's not an insignificant place. Here, like yesterday in Westchester County and New Rochelle, everyone is being very cautious. The big things are construction and manufacturing. now some curbside retail as well. The concern in places like here in Babylon on Main Street are the small mom and pop shops who feel like they've already been put in a hole deeper because big real retailers like Target, others, have been able to open and sell things for the past couple of weeks, if not longer. And so now you have these small mom and pops that are trying to compete with those giants who already had an advantage, an online advantage certainly. So they're now trying to make up for that deficit as well. So today we see shop owners who are in some cases getting back to their premises for the first time in months, trying to figure out how to socially distance, how many employees to call back, how much of their goods they're going to be able to sell, to see what kind of cash flow they're going to be able to generate, if any. There are some that won't open up at all because it's already been too long, 2 months without any business. So that's what we see, a mix of very cautiously getting into this, really hoping that this phase only lasts 2 weeks or so, the minimum, and then they move to phase 2, which is a wider opening up of the economy. But after 2 months of nothing to get the green light to begin something to start, I think most people are happy, but leery, and of course concerned about a new spike in cases, which we've seen in different parts of the country in places that have reopened. Allison?
Ron, New York City, the epicenter of the outbreak, of course, still shut down. What metrics does the city still need to hit for it to reopen?
New York needs more hospital beds, a bigger percentage of hospital beds available, and they need more contact tracers. And today, the mayor, Mayor de Blasio, said that they had upped the number to many thousands, and they're trying to bring on more and more contact tracers, the people who will hopefully find where people who got the disease, who they were in contact with, and we all know that process. Key to reopening. What New York City is trying to do is focus more resources, more testing, and making quarantine spaces, hotel rooms available to people in the hardest hit zip codes, the hardest hit neighborhoods, which tend to be minority neighborhoods in New York, in Brooklyn and Queens, those boroughs especially. They're trying to get a handle on things in that way so that when they open up, they can find out where the new cases are coming and quickly contain them. But, you know, as you can imagine, you live there, everybody opening up New York, 8 million people, it's just a massive undertaking. And as much as people want to get out, boy, you know, it's still a lot of people I talk to who are not comfortable riding the subway, which is the lifeline of that city, or buses for that matter, to get anywhere. You know, there's so much talk about major employers in Midtown letting their employees work remotely at home because people are concerned about coming back into crowded office buildings. You know, how do you socially distance in these places?
Right.
So it's the expectation is that in a week or two, the mayor has said, the governor has said, the first 2 weeks of June, New York City should begin to get to phase 1. But getting from phase 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, which is the end of it all, that seems like a really difficult journey for New York City. But hopefully we'll get on it soon. I live there. We certainly like to see some progress and like to see this virus contained and controlled as best as possible. So
hey, Ron,
can, get back to this new normal.
On the flip side, I'm a native Long Islander, and we are real proud of our beaches. And for folks who aren't from this area, it's super easy in a typical summer to jump on the Long Island Railroad and head to Long Beach from New York City or take a bus to Jones Beach. Is there any concern on Long Island that with the city still closed, that a ton of folks will be trying to get out of the city coming to Long Island, and then the beaches will be crowded and potentially closed?
Yeah, that's a huge concern. It was a big concern over the Memorial Day weekend, which is why some communities imposed restrictions that only residents could use the beaches because they're reducing the capacity by as much as 50% in some places. So if you reduce it by 50%, there are all kinds of reports of beaches closing early, parking lots closing early in the day. And the last thing that people in Long Island want is for the beach to be closed because people from New York City came out. The other problem is that the mayor and others are just trying to discourage people from using the subways and buses because they want that transit system reserved for essential employees who need to get where they're going. And there's a lot of essential employees who are doing all kinds of jobs in the city, from grocery clerks to, of course, healthcare workers who need to use the subways and buses to get where they want to go. And they don't want that disrupted by people going to the beach or crowded by people going to the beach. So,
Right.
and it's getting warm out here. And so that's going to be an enduring problem.
It sure is.
New York City's beaches were closed. Yeah, New York City's beaches were closed. Whether they will open soon, that I don't know. That's probably like phase 2, maybe 3. I don't know exactly, but it doesn't feel imminent, like next weekend.
Right. And as you say, Ron, we're inching closer to beach weather on Long Island. Ron Allen in Babylon, thank you so much.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.